Who's Vigo? Anyone hear that name before?
Well, Nicolas Cage, that's a really good question. Vigo is a character that often appears in various offerings, tome entries, as well as various cosmetics, and despite being such an important character in the game, one of the strongest survivors in the entity's realm, as well as one of the reasons for the existence of the Blight, the vast majority of players only know Vigo by name. Let's talk about the most mysterious character in Dead by Daylight on this new episode of Mysteries of the Fog. The story of Vigo begins in 2016, with the release of Dead by Daylight. Back then, we didn't have the archives in order to learn more deeply about the characters in the realm, and the cosmetic store didn't exist yet. This meant that the only pieces of lore we had were found in the backstories of the characters, which were very limited at the time, but all of those described the characters before they were taken into the entity's realm. Instead, the only way to learn about what is happening inside the realm was through the in-game tooltips of the offerings, perks, and items or characters could equip. Some of the items, like Alex's toolbox, as well as the general perks like Dark Sense or Hope, revealed that there were other survivors before the playable ones we could find in the game. Out of all of those unnamed characters, only one appeared more than once: Vigo. Vigo's first ever mention could be found in two specific items. The first one was the offering called Vigo Shroud, an offering said to calm the entity in order to make you spawn as far away as possible from the killer. This offering also contained a quote from a book called Vigo's Journal, stating,
"I found marvels through the years in the fog, but only now do I understand how to bend the fog's irrefragable rules."
The second mention was found in one of the Hillbilly's perks, in which the perk's quote again references Vigo's Journal.
"These monsters, they adapt, they emerge with strange new abilities."
Later on, with the release of the Nurse, a lot of offerings and items that were previously only found in the code of the game were made available for all players, which introduced 3 new references to Vigo. Perhaps the most well-known one is Vigo's Jar of Salty Lips, a very rare offering which increases survivors' luck. No one knows where he got the lips from, nor why he created this jar in the first place. All we know from the offering's quote is that it was a tightly sealed glass jar containing torn human lips floating in a murky brine. Some believe it brings good fortune. Unlike the offerings, the other 2 items actually gave some information about Vigo. The first item was the Rainbow Map, the most powerful map in the game, being the first ever item that allowed you to see killers' belongings by default. The map was made from fresh skin, still dripping with blood, and sealed with multiple colored ropes and cords. While we don't know if this map was made by Vigo himself, the Rainbow Map provides us with another quote coming from Vigo's Journal.
"It disheartens me. All this unspeakable knowledge and grueling effort, and yet nothing tangible, nothing usable to get out of this nightmare."
Finally, the last item for now that revealed anything about Vigo and which gave the last quote taken from his journal was the Engineer's Toolbox, which said,
"Have created tools beyond compare and stood paralyzed as they were stolen from me. These are but a poor replica, spat out by the fog."
While these were only 5 instances that referenced Vigo, they already gave enough information about this character to start theorizing about his existence and impact in the game. However, not much came from it. We knew he was a survivor, as confirmed from the Lightborn perk, but that was it. Vigo was only known as a mysterious survivor that potentially either died or he might become a killer in the future. But things changed on the 6th of October of 2017, where during a developer stream focused on lore, Dave, Richard, and Ash dropped one of the most insane facts about Dead by Daylight when asked about the hatch.
Could we learn some lore behind the hatch? Where does it lead to? Well, I think the hatch is.
You have to ask yourself. In the game, there are certain things that don't seem to fit. There's a hatch.
Yeah.
There's some generators.
Yeah.
There's some gates that are linked to those generators, and they're all connected in one way or another.
Yes.
So the hatch,
I'd say even the items.
Absolutely the items, and some of the descriptions of the items will
Yes,
give you
yes.
clues to what this is. So the hatch is built by someone.
Okay, yeah, let's go all in. There is a character that everybody kind of...
Just do it. This is it.
There is a character that everybody kind of ignore.
Yeah.
He's already in the game. He's already part of the game. He's a very important character to the whole lore. But, you know, that's it.
That's it. That's as far as you can go.
That's it.
This reveal was huge for the time. They directly confirmed that the hatch was not always there in the entity's realm, and they basically hinted at the fact that Vigo, the character the community ignored, was actually the person who created the hatch, a mechanic that was thought to be part of the entity's games. Vigo was so powerful that he was able to alter the rules of the trial in order to escape the matches, which was absolutely insane to think about. But Vigo's popularity only skyrocketed in October of 2018, 1 year after this stream. During a special lore-focused livestream, the developers once more talked about Vigo, giving some hints about him and a very important confirmation.
Chris is asking,
Yes,
who
X
is
Chris X.
Benedict Baker and Vigo? So these would actually fill a few books, probably.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this is a player that might be new to this community. I mean, these characters have been there for a long time. We've talked about them quite a bit in the past. So very quickly, Benedict and Vigo Vigo has been, and Benedict is a survivor. Vigo is, we know that he's a researcher, he's an inventor. Out of the quotes that are already in the game on some of the items, we know that he invented some of the contraptions, sometimes kind of magical, mystical, sometimes more mechanical that we find in the game. And he also researched the biology, the organic aspect of the entity.
Very obvious in the upcoming Halloween event.
Oh yeah, well there you go. So you'll know more about Vigo in the Halloween event. There you go.
This was a huge moment for lore enthusiasts. For the first time ever, it was confirmed that Vigo was a survivor in Dead by Daylight, which created even more questions for us. Did he end up dying, or did he escape the entity's realm? But, most importantly, Behavior, for the first time ever, introduced lore snippets about Vigo himself. The Hallowed Blight was the biggest event to date, which introduced a very important facet of the entity's realm. It explained how each year, during a specific time, the realm would enter a purge state where blighted flowers and pustulas would emerge. This confirmed that the entity had a biological aspect to it, instead of it being a purely supernatural being. The lore talked about a character that we only knew as the Alchemist during this period of time, who many believed at first that it was Benedict Baker, another important lore character in Dead by Daylight, which, if this video gets enough support, I will make a dedicated episode on this character as well, so make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you in advance. Going back to the Alchemist, with the power of retrospect, we know that this character is Talbot Grimes, the character who will end up becoming the Blight. The Blight, just like Vigo, was a survivor at first. He was wandering the realm, escaping from various monsters like the Doctor. During his story, it is revealed that the Blight found Vigo's laboratory, which contained a lot of scientific materials and, most importantly, Vigo's journal. Talbot started to read this journal in order to find any answers to allow him to escape from the realm, to find out that Vigo has been researching the entity for many years, documenting it and finding out about a nectar called the putrid serum, which allowed Vigo to traverse the void at will, a realm where all the hopeless husks of killers and survivors end up after losing all of their emotions. However, any entries about the effects of the serum or how to prepare it were torn off from the journal. The Blight started to experiment himself with this putrid serum, going so far as being able to capture the killers and inject them with this serum, causing all the blighted cosmetics in the game. Eventually, a blighted rat would end up biting Blight, only to make him addicted to his own putrid serum, which would lead to Talbot becoming the monster he is nowadays. But this video's focus is not on the Blight, the focus is on Vigo. 2 years after the first Hallowed Blight event, Dead by Daylight would finally release the Blight as a playable character, and the very last unique reference to Vigo, Vigo's annotated blueprint, which allowed both killers and survivors to make the hatch spawn in the main building of the map, a reference to how Vigo was the creator of the hatch. As of the release of this video, nothing else is known about Vigo. But I think with the information we know about him, it is possible to deduce more about Vigo. So let's talk about everything we know about him and my personal theory of what happened to Vigo from a chronological order. It is confirmed by the devs that Vigo started as a mere survivor in the entity's realm, further proven by the quote on the perk Lightborn. This perk quote reveals that Vigo had to have interacted with a killer that was able to resist the light of a flashlight, proving that in the entity's realm, it is possible to alter reality and adapt in order to become better. Vigo started researching this, inscribing this in his own journal. At some point inside the entity's realm, Vigo found various special items that he would experiment with. I believe that both the rainbow map as well as the jar of salty lips were not items created by Vigo, but instead things he found in the realm himself. With the luck of the jar, he was able to survive more in the trials, and he tried to find information about how to escape with the rainbow map, but he didn't find anything useful, which explains his sadness in the quote of this item. He felt like he was stuck in this infinite nightmare. However, just like Vittorio, Vigo survived for many years in the realm, and this was enough for him to find more information about it. If killers are able to adapt themselves and become stronger in the realm, why couldn't he do it himself? Well, at some point, he discovers the power of manifestation, one of the strongest powers in the entity's realm. With enough knowledge, Vigo was able to manifest items and resources to help him survive. He was able to bend the realm to his favor, and we know this is the case because the power of manifestation is something that the survivors can do in-game already. Survivors are able to manifest specific items in-game. For example, Quentin with Pharmacy is able to manifest a medkit as long as he is hurt. Hattie is able to manifest a flashlight as long as she has residual manifest. Leon is able to craft a flashbang after repairing enough. And most importantly, one of the most powerful survivors in the game, Nicolas Cage, is able to straight up manifest items out of thin air with dramaturgy. This proves that, in some capacity, the power of imagination does exist in the entity's realm, and as long as a survivor believes in it, they are able to create items to help them survive. Vigo, just like Nicolas Cage, was able to manifest various powerful items that will help him survive. With his shroud, he was able to calm the entity in order to make the killer spawn as far away as possible for him, giving Vigo enough time to build his own laboratory. And at some point, with these same powerful items, he was able to create the hatch, just to be able to keep escaping from the matches over and over again. Vigo was extremely powerful, unkillable, and above the firm rules of the entity's realm. He himself knew it, as proven by his quote on his own shroud. But the entity didn't like this, so it decided to take away most of the items Vigo had. This is confirmed in the quote of the engineer's toolbox, where it explains how the items that are found in the entity's realm are just a replica of the originals created by Vigo. The entity had learned that a survivor holding so much power was not good, and so it nerfed every single item in the game. This also explains why flashlights, canonically some of the strongest items a survivor can have, last so little. It's because all items are made weak by the entity. It could also explain why the hatch works like it does now. The entity liked the hope this mechanic provided to the survivors, but it was overpowered to be left as is, so instead, the entity hides the hatch only as a prize for the last survivor in the match, ensuring that it feeds in enough misery before it starts feeding off the last remaining hope of a survivor trying to find it. But this was not a holdback for Vigo at all. With all these years of experience in the realm, he found out about the Purge, this event that made pustulas and putrid flowers grow all over the realm. He started experimenting on the nectar of these flowers, only to find out the true power this nectar contained. A question I always wondered is how did Vigo not get addicted to the serum while Blight did? And I believe the only logical explanation there is that the Blight made an unrefined putrid serum compared to Vigo. We know that the actual pages containing the recipe and effects of the serum were taken by Vigo himself, so it is logical that Blight might have created a different potion to Vigo, one that ended up making him a monster. But with Vigo's serum, we know he was able to traverse the void. In the void, he was untouchable by any killers, and even by the entity. As long as he had the putrid serum, he was able to do whatever he wanted in the entity's realm. And this is where Vigo's story ends for now. We know that he is no longer a survivor, but is that meant in a positive way? Was Vigo the only person in the entire game who was able to escape the entity's realm? Or was it meant in a negative way? Did Vigo end up in the void, forever stuck with no hopes of escaping? Was the entity too powerful for him? Or maybe will he become one of the killers in the future? This is something we have no concrete answer to yet. And what is perhaps the most sad fact of this story is that some of the survivors in the game were able to find Vigo's laboratory in the realms, as proven by various of the blighted cosmetics that most of them have. However, the most important piece of the puzzle, and potentially the only key to escape the trials, the answer to so many mysteries of the fog, Vigo's journal, was nowhere to be found. And this is because this item is now forever stuck in the possession of the Blight, one of the canonically strongest killers in the entity's realm. I hope you enjoyed this video, as well as my potential theory regarding Vigo's lore and backstory. If you did enjoy, I would love it if you let me know in the comments your opinion regarding this theory. As always, thank you for watching and have a nice day.